Yeah, what's up, everybody? It's Wrestling Uncensored. Tonight on the show, CM Punk is coming back to AEW. Do we need another AEW TV show, though? And we'll review Smackdown, Raw, and all the other things in the world of pro wrestling. You know, right off the bat, Johnny, we got a lot going on in AEW, and I think we're going to start in AEW. The AEW world is just, it's in turmoil. There's so much going on. CM Punk seems to be coming back. Dax Harwood had to stop his podcast. There's a lot happening in AEW land, and I think we'll start the show there. There's no Rampage going on right now. Usually we're sitting here on a Friday night after SmackDown watching AEW Rampage, but that's tomorrow. So we'll tell you about Rampage as well. We'll get to some WWE here. Shout out to Anthony Plessia renewing his membership. Go to join.ringsidereport.net if you have not done so already. Join.ringsidereport.net. $5 a month, support the channel. Keep us going. We got a lot of programming here. We're here every Friday night talking pro wrestling with you on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We're rumbling. I got my Fanta t-shirt on. I'm hyped up. Let's go. Shout out Trans Am, CSL Lorne, watching us. See you guys in the chat there on YouTube. Everybody checking us out live. And, of course, on the podcast version as well. I know people just listen to the audio version, so thanks for listening to the program. Johnny North, how are you? You all right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm actually pondering the current situation right now. At one point, I think in life, I thought it was good to have as much wrestling as possible on television.
Yes.
Now I think differently after getting so much wrestling weekly. Yeah. I'm like, maybe there is a limit to this.
Yeah.
But with AEW, I guess they feel they need to have more. And I think they have good reason for it.
Yeah, like when we were kids and there was like an hour of wrestling a week on Saturdays at noon, you know? You got that right. WWF Superstars. We wanted more. We're like, how about some more of this? This is good, right? I wanted more. But now we're getting a lot of wrestling. We're getting 3 hours of Raw on a Monday night. You're getting 2 hours of SmackDown. And AEW, you've got 2 hours of Dynamite on a Wednesday, and people are watching that show. People like that show. People like Wednesday Night Dynamite. You've got a good product. You got a good thing going.
It works.
They add Rampage, and it's Friday nights at 10 most weeks, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's
tonight.
Not tonight. Sometimes it's on at like 6:30 at night for some reason. Sometimes it's on at like 11:30. Sometimes it's a 2-hour show because they do Battle of the Belts for some reason, and they barely talk about it on Dynamite to let you know that it's happening. Right? We have these Battle of the Belts shows after Rampage, and it's like, oh, this is happening? I was completely unaware of it. And now they're going to add another show. I don't think you could say that Rampage has been an outright success. I would say the opposite. I would say Rampage has been kind of a stumble for AEW because not many people are watching it. The ratings are poor. The show is not great. And if you're an AEW fan, you really only need to watch Dynamite because that's where the big things happen, and that's really all you want to watch because the other shows are not great. And as Harold Schneider points out, they have those internet shows too. I'm not even talking about Dark or Dark Elevation. They're like, we have a show called Dark. It's on YouTube. Let's do another one called Dark Elevation. All right. What's the difference? I couldn't tell you. You know why I couldn't tell you? Because I don't watch those shows. And the only reason I watch Rampage is because it's on the TV in front of me when I'm talking to you, Johnny, on a Friday night after SmackDown. But tomorrow night, Rampage, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to watch it. There's a UFC card on tomorrow night. I'm going to put some money down on the fights. I'm going to be watching the UFC on a Saturday night. And that's another thing for me, and I think a lot of other people, maybe not a ton of AEW fans, but a lot of people, Saturday nights are for UFC. And now AEW is trying to do this Saturday night show. What's it called? Collision?
I believe so, yeah.
Do we know when this starts?
I believe the start date's going to be June 17th, and it's rumored, I think, at 6:05.
Like 6:05 at night? It's going to start at 6 o'clock? So 6 to 7, 6 to 8. 2 hours.
I would think 6 to 8.
Ooh, my goodness. Why? Why? Why are they adding another TV show? I don't need all this AEW TV, and I don't think that the AEW audience needs it either. The AEW audience, by the way, is a younger wrestling audience than I think the WWE audience, and I think a big reason why Rampage has not been a success is because a lot of AEW fans are going out on a Friday night. They're not watching wrestling necessarily, and it's going to be the same on Saturdays. It's going to be the same on Saturdays. People aren't going to be tuning in to this Saturday night show. They might tune in to the first one because the Wrestling Observer is reporting and other people are reporting that CM Punk is going to return on June 17th on that first episode of Collision in Chicago. Surprise, surprise, in Chicago. AEW in Chicago? What a shocker. It's like
United Center, too.
Right. And they'll have CM Punk, and he'll come back. And apparently, Tony Khan can't manage his roster well enough to have Punk appear on the Wednesday night show because that's where the Bucks and Kenny and possibly Jericho will stay, and Punk will get to play on Saturdays with the FTR and people he gets along with. They have to do a roster split because CM Punk and the Young Bucks can't play nights. What?
Well, they can't get along.
It's crazy. It's insane. Could you imagine Vince doing this? Well, pal, this guy and this guy, Sean and Brett can't get along, so we'll just separate them. How about everybody knows they can't get along? How about putting them in the ring with each other because you have a real issue there and everybody wants to see it? You got to get along to do business. Let's go. What are we waiting for? And DJ Dark points out, plus Ring of Honor. Yeah, whatever that is. Like, what is Tony Khan doing? How thin can he spread himself? He also has those, like, soccer teams and football teams, the Jaguars and everything, right? He's involved in all of this stuff. Another TV show to be mismanaged? I mean, Dynamite is already shaky. I'm going to break down Dynamite in a minute here. It was, a lot of the stuff they did, especially that MJF, Sammy Guevara stuff to set up the title match. This is your world title program. It was a mess. Booking-wise, like cohesiveness, it was ridiculous. The logic there was non-existent. It really made me wonder about Tony Khan. Just the booking of that, I'm like, what is this guy thinking? What's going on here? He's got a simple, perfect thing molded for him, and he just... I don't want another one of these shows. I don't want another one of these subpar wrestling shows. It's not the talent. I mean, if you want to hand out the booking to some people that know what they're doing, maybe CM Punk and FTR just get to book the Saturday night show. Okay, maybe they could do something. I don't know. But right now, what AEW looks like is you got the A show Dynamite. You've got the B show that's like it's like a B- show, Rampage. And then you have this other Collision thing that you're going to add into it. What's that going to be? The C show? Or does that become the B show and then Rampage is the C show? And then if Rampage is the C show, like what is the point anymore of all these shows? They're doing more TV programming now than WWE. And WWE, it's a lot. And they don't have the infrastructure, they don't have the production, they don't have the talent, the roster that WWE has. No disrespect. I'm not saying that, the talent roster in WWE is better, person for person. But what I'm saying is they have more people in WWE. They have a deeper talent roster. There's more money, right? AEW doesn't have that deep of a talent roster. And if you start getting down to the, depth chart, you're like, what do we really have here, guys? You have no women's division to speak of. You struggle to make that make sense. You struggle to make stars there. How are you going to do when you have 3 shows to put women's wrestling on? And you know that the internet nerds are going to go bananas if they have one wrestling show one night without a single women's match. So you can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? I am more understanding. I'd be more forgiving. I'd say, well, I guess one night. I don't know. But a lot of people would be real mad, John, and you know that, right? If they did one show without a women's wrestling match, people would go bananas on AEW. So they have to have women's wrestling on every show. But when the roster is so thin, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's bottom of the barrel.
They have 2 women's championships. Like, I think they'll be fine. I'm really concerned about them putting one.
How healthy is that Jade Cargill run, really, though? Like, she has no legit challengers. Now they got Taya, but I don't know if that's actually going to be legit or Jade just kind of steamrolls her. Like, you say they have 2 titles, but they don't really. Jade Cargill isn't a traditional champion because she's the only person that's ever had that belt. The TBS title or whatever it's called is basically the FTW title, but it's for Jade Cargill.
Well, there's a women's world's title, which Jamie Hayter has, and then there's the television title. That's what Jade has, pretty much. So
yeah, but what I'm saying is she's held it for a hell of a long time. She's the only person that's ever held it, and she's never really had any kind of meaty feud with anybody of note during her run that's been lengthy. They haven't made anybody. They haven't built anything. They really haven't elevated her that much because she hasn't beat anybody. Because if you just keep beating jabroni after jabroni, no one cares, right? Jade beating Sky Blue or Willow Nightingale doesn't make Jade Cargill a bigger star. And I don't even know if Taya Valkyrie makes Jade Cargill a bigger star. Because Taya hasn't been presented like this massive superstar. She hasn't really beat anybody. She's just coming in fresh to possibly lose to Jade, which probably does little for Jade. So I like Jade a lot, but they haven't done a great job of doing stuff with her. Like, she's not that interesting as a character in AEW. She's cool, but what is she doing? What's happening? And that's a problem with a lot of the talent in the women's division there in AEW. It's just the booking has been garbage. We can go back to Riho and the other one, I forget her name, who was champion. Shida, right? Champion for so long, and they're non-existent in AEW. Thunder Rosa, like, these people they try to build, they never really build, and they don't become stars. And again, you spread that over 3 shows, yikes. It's not happening. I'm not going to watch. I can't watch all this. What are you talking about?
Well, you're not going to watch CM Punk's going to be back on Saturday nights?
Yeah, I watch CM Punk. I watch his stuff, so hopefully it's on TV right so I could record it, and then I'll skip to the Punk. But because I think the rest of it's going to be filler. If Punk's on every week, And even if Punk's on every week, what does he do?
Well, there's a lot for Punk to do. I mean, we're not doing Jericho. We're not doing the Elite. There's MJF as well. That was unfinished. That was supposed to happen.
Okay. So MJF is great to work with for pretty much everybody in AEW. Maybe Bryan Danielson could do something with Punk. Because Bryan Danielson seems to be somewhat neutral, but you never know. Apparently, people are very mad at CM Punk, and a lot of people aren't thrilled with the idea of Punk coming back. And the Wrestling Observer is saying that Punk is coming back. And there's possibly a meeting that's going to happen that the FTR will mediate as a neutral party between CM Punk and Chris Jericho to try and get them together. But the word is that the Bucks, and I guess Kenny, but it seems like mostly the Bucks, want nothing to do with CM Punk, and they're just not interested. Which is...
Oh, they're still mad. It's okay. You can be mad.
Oh, yeah. But, okay, they're mad, and I get it. And maybe they're the ones who are the guys that don't want to be around Punk and won't work on the same show as Punk and won't wrestle Punk. Maybe they're the problem as far as getting that match out for the people. Because that seems to be the big match, the biggest money match that AEW can do. Maybe Punk is on board. He seems to be saying publicly that he's down to do it. But can the Young Bucks trust him? You know? If you're the Young Bucks and CM Punk can beat you up in a real way, and he's assaulted you in the past, can you trust him in a pro wrestling match not to do something crazy? I don't know. But I wish the Bucks would find out, try it out, see what happens. If it gets crazy, go crazy. See what happens, man. Roll the dice. You never know. I mean, CM Punk is not Brock Lesnar here. If CM Punk decides to shoot on you, you never know what you can do. You got a shot. You'll be all right. But I just feel like that's the match to make. Tony Khan, as the guy in charge of AEW, should be getting it together and trying to figure out a way to do it. It shouldn't be up to the FTR to mediate a meeting there between Chris Jericho and CM Punk. Tony Khan should be the one getting them in their office. Come on, man. Like, it's not that complicated. It should happen. It's not happening. I think at some point they'll figure it out. Cooler heads will prevail. We will see the match because it's pro wrestling. You got to do what's best for pro wrestling in the end, and hopefully they will, but I don't know. I know Dax FTR wants to do the match. He said so on his podcast, right? So Dax, he said that's his dream match, and apparently he got heat for saying it was his dream match. He got so much heat that he had to stop his podcast altogether because it was causing too much drama, and he thought it was bad for wrestling and bad for the AEW and the backstage stuff there, which, fair enough. I think it was a very popular podcast. I listened to every episode, I think, because it was a guy in his prime in the middle of this crazy story with Punk and the Bucks, and he was willing to talk about it and give his side of the story. And he was willing to talk about his contract with AEW and different things, and I thought he had a good podcast. I liked it. But I liked it because there was a lot of dirt there. He was dishing the dirt in a lot of ways. And I thought it's entertaining, but bound to ruffle some feathers, right, John? I mean, you heard that podcast. It was good, but it was good because he was giving us a lot of information.
Yeah, well, to me, it didn't seem like it was too earth-shattering, the stuff that he said. I thought it was enlightening, a lot of stuff that he said, but I could see how some people probably took it the wrong way, and like he said, like it did more harm than good. He found, and he got a lot of negativity thrown at him. And a huge thing was the fact that he didn't want to see his daughter seeing all that negativity, like when she grows up. So that was his idea for maybe it's best not to do this right now. I mean, you don't see people who are currently wrestling have podcasts like this right now. So
Yeah.
it was bound, this was bound to happen. And if anything, it's amazing it lasted as long as it did.
Yeah. I mean, Jericho has a podcast, but he's not really talking about kind of the week-to-week dealings in AEW, right?
Yeah, right.
But Dax was. And now not anymore, right? It's over. Which...
Well, you say he might do another one, just, yeah, it won't be like that. The theme would be different.
Yeah. But what do we want, right? We want that.
Well, that's what got people talking, and, you know, it worked, and I think it served its purpose. But maybe it's better that he focuses on, you know, wrestling than, you know, telling everybody what's happening. Because sometimes when you expose it too much, that it takes away a little bit. Like you kind of said with the guns, like it took away a bit from the story.
And now they're on Rampage, teaming with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal to take on a group of men that I barely recognize. The Varsity Athletes and Slim J. Slim J, who I think is one of the Insane Clown Posse. I'm not sure.
No, I think he's an ROH guy, but...
Okay.
Yeah. But, yeah. Because that was a segment on Dynamite that happened, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, somebody got beat up, right? And then something happened?
Mark Briscoe got beat up.
Mark Briscoe got beat up because FTR was doing a backstage interview on Dynamite, and then the interviewer was like, look at this, and it was Mark Briscoe getting beat up by a group of men. I thought it was Brian Cage. I didn't know who it was. I had no idea who
He may have been there, too. I didn't see him.
I don't know who was there. I couldn't tell. It was so quick, and they didn't big screen it, so you couldn't really tell who was attacking Mark Briscoe. But apparently the FTR knew it was the Varsity Athletes.
Yeah. Well, I think you saw what's his name from 205 Live. He was there. Greatest Athlete.
Tony Nese.
Tony Nese, yeah, that's it.
Okay. He's in that group. Fresh off winning the tag team titles, FTR teaming with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, who I guess are baby faces now.
Well, they're friends with Mark Briscoe, right? So they're acting nice to Mark, but clearly I think this is going to be a feud for FTR going forward, I think.
Lethal and Jarrett.
Yeah. That'd be a good match.
Yeah. It's not really what you want to see FTR doing, though, right? Like, if you had to say, hey, what do you want FTR to do next? I don't know if you'd say, I want to see them feud with Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal.
Well, that's not bad. Like, they're a pretty good tag team. Jeff Jarrett's really good right now. Like,
I know, but
I'm on board with that, actually.
Lackluster. It's lackluster, John. I'm not hyped with it. There's a lot of stuff that happened on AEW Dynamite. We should get into it because it was a mess. There were some good points, but a lot of it was a little shaky.
It's like it always is, ups and downs. You know, some things are good, something not so good, but that seems to be what it usually is.
The opening promo was good. I like the opening promo with Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, and then MJF eventually. Okay. Huh?
I didn't think this was that good, to be honest. Like, I feel like they're trying to redo it again, what they did before, and that was good, but this one, it just didn't hit, this one. Like, I felt like the promo, it just wasn't very interesting.
I don't know. I thought Darby had some good points when he said Jungle Boy didn't have to work very hard to get there because he's part of the California clique, and he's kind of He
That's actually
gets
incorrect, but like
yeah, is it?
he got there because of he got there because of Cody, but
Okay.
I mean, yeah, he's friends with the Bucks because yeah, they happen to be in the same area, but he got in
Mm.
AEW because of Cody. But I mean, again, they're twisting the story kind of thing. And like Darby, like it didn't make sense how he's like so happy that he got the bye. Like that didn't make a lot of sense. Like they try to make this heat with Jungle Boy and Darby, and it just didn't work in my opinion. It should have been focused more on like, they hate Sammy, but then it's like they actually like Sammy. So it was kind of confusing.
That whole thing was a mess. So Darby and Jungle and Sammy, trade shots on each other, saying some things. They're kind of doing a work shoot promo on each other, and I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I was entertained.
I didn't like the whole glass ceiling thing. Oh, they're holding us back kind of thing. Like, no, they're not. Like, you're getting the opportunities. You guys have gotten more opportunities than most guys on the roster have. And
Yeah.
no, they're holding us back. That didn't make any sense. Like, this isn't WWE. I know they're trying to sell it off. Like, there's just, the people in the back are holding you down, but that's not happening whatsoever in AEW. Not for them, anyways.
Well, maybe from being in the main event, though, right? They're not in the main events.
How many times have you seen Sammy Guevara main event at Dynamite? Jungle Boy main event at Dynamite to win the tag team. Like they've had their opportunities. Yeah, maybe MJF got more.
Yeah,
but they definitely had a lot of opportunities. Cody, Sammy beat Cody.
Yeah,
took him out of AEW. That was a main event.
Yeah, I mean they're all featured players in AEW and have been quite a bit. But didn't one of them say? Didn't Darby say that Jungle Boy was on the last pay-per-view and him and Sammy weren't? Like sometimes
That's
Darby's
true, yeah.
not on the pay-per-view, which
that's true.
As one of the top stars in AEW, you'd figure he'd be booked on all the pay-per-views. But Darby and Sammy weren't, but Jungle was. It does seem like AEW pushes Jungle Boy a little bit more than the other guys, even though I think Darby's the most over of the three.
Yeah, agreed on that one, yeah. Well, I feel like if they're going to make it a one-on-one, Darby makes the most sense. Like, if it's not going to be a four-way, Darby one-on-one with MJF, that's the match to make, I think. Hopefully that's what happens.
Yeah, what the hell? Why isn't it a four-way? What are they doing? So MJF comes out, and he's like, oh, I spoke with Tony Khan, and he says there's going to be a Pillars of AEW tournament, and the winner gets a shot at me at Double or Nothing. And MJF says, but there's three of you, so one of you will get a bye. And then he pulls a name out of a hat, and it's Darby Allin's name, and Darby, jumps up and celebrates like he's won a lottery of some sort. It was very strange, the reaction from Darby.
Out of character.
Yeah, especially for a baby face who's supposed to want to, kill and fight and everything. He's like, oh, I gotta buy. I don't have to wrestle. I don't know. It was weird, but also, I mean, forget Darby's reaction. I don't want to blame Darby. I want to blame Tony Khan for booking this stupid shit. You have this. It's perfect. It's done. Darby, Sammy, Jungle, MJF. The whole world has accepted that this fatal four-way for the AEW World title is the main event for Double or Nothing. We've all said, yeah, this is good. We want to see this. Give us this, and let's see what these four guys can do. Instead, they come out with this ridiculous plan where they're like, oh, we'll have a one-on-one match at Double or Nothing. Okay, well, how do we get there? Well, we'll do a tournament with the three guys. A three-man tournament where one guy gets a bye. Nobody thinks, hey, isn't there a match that we could maybe do with all three guys where we could determine a winner? And then the winner could go on to face MJF at the pay-per-view? What's that called? Like a three-way match? A trio, a three-way dance, whatever the hell you want to call it, triple threat. Three guys in a match, one fall to the finish. the winner gets MJF at the pay-per-view. It's way simpler that way, but instead they give us this bullshit where Darby gets a bye, so Sammy has to wrestle Jungle Boy in the main event of Dynamite. On our way there, Sammy Guevara is interviewed backstage. MJF shows up, and he says, Sammy, I like you. I want to offer you a guaranteed spot, a double or nothing. I will help you win. You just have to lay down for me at the pay-per-view. And Sammy's not too down with that plan. But then MJF offers him money. Money. A blank check. Sammy then writes in the number that he wants on the check, presents the check to MJF. MJF is a little bit like, oh, that's a lot of money. But then goes, well, if that's your number, you've got a deal. And he goes to shake his hand, and then Sammy's very excited. All of a sudden, all the hatred for MJF is gone from Sammy, and he says, no, let's hug, and we're best friends, and he hugs him. So he's getting a lot of money from MJF so that he can lose to MJF but get the title shot at Double or Nothing, and MJF will help him do that, which he did. Of course, the main event was Sammy beating Jungle Boy by count out when Sammy distracted the referee so that MJF could hit Jungle Boy with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which knocked Jungle unconscious outside the ring and ended the match by count out. The ref didn't see it. Jungle Boy was down. Sammy won. And then MJF and Sammy hug, and MJF puts Sammy on his shoulders, and they're celebrating their dastardly plan gone well. And now Darby is watching from the rafters, and he's like, uh-oh, I have to face Sammy next week, but MJF is going to help him win because they have this plan. It's horrible. It was just bad. It was dumb. It was not entertaining. It wasn't fun to watch. It didn't make a ton of sense. Why did Sammy Guevara just kind of go, oh, well, okay. I'll just take money, MJF. And also, how come MJF is so much richer than Sammy that he could just offer him a dollar amount that Sammy's happy with to not be the world champion? How much money could MJF had really offered Sammy so that Sammy's like, yeah, that's enough. I don't want to be champion here anymore. Kind of devalues your belt, but I guess that's besides the point. I think the main point is how fucking stupid this all was. And now what? MJF either helps Sammy win, and then Sammy wrestles MJF at the pay-per-view, and Sammy baby faces out and goes, whoa, rip up the check. I want to wrestle you for real. And then Sammy's the heel in this. He's not the guy that's supposed to go up against MJF if you're going to do the one-on-one at the pay-per-view. He's already a heel. He's already cheated to win. If he just flips to babyface at the pay-per-view or a week before or next week or whatever, but still gets the match with MJF, it's very hard to get behind Sammy because he's kind of not earned his way to that title match. So how do you get behind him? You don't. So Darby, I guess, has to fight from underneath and beat Sammy even with MJF's help next week. And then it'll be Darby versus MJF at the pay-per-view for the title, which is fine, but I think you had it with the four-way. You could have just done that. But to me, the only way to save this is for it to be like a one-week thing. They screw Jungle Boy. Sammy Guevara tries to beat Darby with MJF's help next week. It backfires. Darby wins. MJF is upset. And MJF and Sammy are not friends anymore because, it didn't work out. That's the only way to save it. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? Either way, the show this week was ruined by all that. Just ruined.
Well, it would have worked out better if this wasn't the main event. Like, I felt the segment prior had the most heat, and that should have ended the show. This match, like, I don't think people were really invested into it that much. I thought they were starting 100 miles an hour to start their match, and I don't know if people really got into it. Like, I thought it got better as it went on, but I think it was too quick for people right away. And I thought Jungle Boy took a great bump through that table. Like, it looked pretty rough. I got the edge of it right before MJF hit him with the ring. I thought there was some pretty good moments, and like he hit him with the cool like back suplex DDT thing they did. There's some really good moments on the apron too. Like, I didn't think it was a bad match, but I felt like it wasn't the main event of the show. It shouldn't have been the main event.
And the finish, it was just like when Sammy accepted the check, you think, wow, not really. And then when MJF helps him win and then they celebrate, you're like, oh, really? You know?
Yeah, but it's only for this week though. Like, it's only this week, and then next week it's gonna backfire.
Where Darby wins, and it'll be Darby MJF, which will be a kick-ass match, and I'm good with that.
It could be that. It could still be a four-way. It could still work out to be a four-way of some kind, like, because of all the shenanigans throughout. They'll say like, oh well, Sammy and Jungle Boy will get another chance. We still have a long ways to go before Double or Nothing, so I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a four-way anyways.
I hope you're right, because this was bad, man. This was real bad.
Well, I said it in like the promo, and like, you know, the match was okay. It to me, it wasn't the best part of the show. It shouldn't have ended the show.
Just the whole angle, though, didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I get it, but it wasn't great. That's the problem with it. It's like it wasn't a good angle to do, but it's their idea. They went with it, and they live with it.
First match of the night, we had Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter beating Toni Storm and Ruby Soho. The fans were big time behind Britt Baker. Britt actually kicked out of the Storm Zero pile driver. Kicked out at 2.
And a belt shot.
Yeah. So they were in Pittsburgh. They were loving Britt. And Britt won. She didn't celebrate much after the match. Jamie Hayter was being helped to the back by the doctor. I don't know what happened there. Was Hayter actually hurt? Or maybe
well,
that
Tony
was
threw.
That was the angle, maybe, so that later
I think it was
on,
the angle.
Later on, Hayter couldn't come out and help Britt, right?
Right, because you saw that. I think it was Toni Storm threw her into the steel steps, and she sold like her arm the whole time.
Right, but because she was being helped to the back by the doctor, and Britt's in-ring celebration was like cut short. In the moment, I thought, "Oh, is Hayter hurt?" Because like it was a weird thing there for Britt to do, to not have like a full celebration in her hometown after the win, and her partner wasn't there. Her partner not being there for the celebration made it seem real, right? I thought that was a good little detail. Because they needed Hayter not there later on in the night.
Yeah.
For the angle.
It worked.
Yeah. And that angle I thought was great, which we'll get to here in a minute. But I thought they did that really well. Like, we had some good stuff on this show. It's just that the opening angle and then the main event thing, did not like that. So Wardlow is backstage, and Arn Anderson is with him. And they're talking about some sort of new Four Horsemen group, possibly, and Wardlow's got Arn Anderson in his corner now. So they brought Arn back, and he's with Wardlow.
Okay.
And they're maybe going to start a new group? I don't know what the hell he was talking about.
Okay, what he was talking about, because Wardlow said that he learned from a Four Horsemen before, right? Who was Tully Blanchard when they were in the Pinnacle. And then Arn came out and said, like, you know, he taught you how to play checkers. I'm going to teach you how to play chess. And, you know, it's time you win championships. He went on about somehow, like, you know, they could break your car, they could break your spirit, but they take your championship. That's the worst thing that can happen to you.
Right.
So that's what Arn was talking about. But I thought this was good.
I was lost. I didn't know what the hell Arn Anderson was saying. I was like, what the hell is this guy? He was just rambling.
A little bit, but I find Arn's good. Arn's entertaining, though. Like, it's good for him, I think. He needs a manager, and Arn's good to have. Like the fact that they haven't used Arn for a while, it's too bad. Because right away he's paying off.
He was never the best promo guy, though. He wasn't really known as a great promo. I don't know.
I find he's pretty good.
He's all right.
I can see some people don't like him, but I enjoy him. I find he's pretty funny.
I mean, I don't dislike him, but I don't find he's super effective as a manager. I don't know if he did much for Cody. He just hasn't been that effective in AEW as a manager. He's had his moments, but...
Yeah, he's had his moments. I was going to say that.
But overall, I don't know. Like, when I saw him with Wardlow, I didn't care. Like, it didn't add anything to me.
Well, can you think of a good Wardlow, like, promo? Like, I think Arn helps him a lot.
Yeah, well, he probably needs a mouthpiece. You're right. You're right about that. Kenny and the Bucks, they cut a promo in the ring, which is not something you see very often. Real serious promo. Kenny talking about the Blackpool Combat Club and what they did to them and their friends, and he calls them out. And Bryan Danielson shows up on the screen and says that they're amateurs, and nobody pays to see amateurs. And then Claudio, Wheeler, and Moxley attack the Elite from behind. The Elite fight back. They brawl around the ring. The Blackpool Club take out the Bucks, and Moxley hits his DDT finish on Kenny. And then Bryan Danielson comes out, and he says, Kenny, I thought you were a professional, but maybe not. You had potential to be a pro, but not like these amateurs here, but you lower yourself. And then Don Callis comes out with a chair. He wants to help, but he gets scared and decides to leave. And then Bryan continues to berate Kenny Omega and pulls out a screwdriver as he's about to murder Kenny on TV. He's going to stab him, I guess, in the head with a screwdriver. I don't know what the eye, but I mean, how far do you dig? I mean, that's the head.
Did the Hangman,
I guess. So he's going to take the eye out of Kenny, or maybe, I don't know, stab him in his brain. I mean, you could kill a guy with a screwdriver if you stab him in the eye. Just saying, John. Don't try that at home, please. Thankfully, he didn't kill Kenny Omega because Don Callis came back out with Konosuke Takeshita, who I guess Don has befriended. And Takeshita takes out Wheeler and Claudio and Moxley. He gets everybody out of there. Bryan never gets physically involved, which I wonder about. He's kind of just talking so far, but he didn't get involved in this, just kind of talked as the goons did the job for him. And Takeshita aligns himself with the Elite, which is, cool. Would have been way cooler if it was Kota Ibushi, coming out there to help Kenny, but I guess they don't have that set up. The pop for Ibushi would have been massive, but I think the pop for Takeshita was pretty good too. Elevates Takeshita, who we all like, who we all think is a talented wrestler. So, yeah, I thought it was good. Made sense. We've seen Don Callis with Takeshita in the past. Makes sense that he would enlist him to come and help his friend Kenny when Kenny was about to die. So, yeah, this was a good segment. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was fine. No problems with it. And if anything, this adds a replacement if Matt Jackson can't wrestle when they do the pay-per-view. So then they'll still have 4 people. They still have to bring Hangman back into this, but they still have a lot of time left for the pay-per-view.
Kenny doesn't seem interested in being friends with Hangman. The Bucks are cool with Hangman, but Kenny and Hangman are still not cool.
Yeah, but you don't need to be friends to go to war, Like, I don't believe they were friends last time, but they still were somewhat friendly-ish.
But now it's kind of 5-on-4, isn't it, if they add Hangman in the group?
The Blackpool Combat Club only has 4 members, no?
Yeah, but it'd be Kenny, Hangman, Bucks, and Takeshita. That's 5 guys.
Yeah, but I'm saying Matt probably can't go. Like, you saw him bandaged up there with his bicep, no?
Yeah.
He's got a torn bicep. He shouldn't be wrestling. Like, it's amazing what he's doing now, but I don't know if he should be having a match with torn bicep.
I mean, he's getting physically involved. He's doing stuff.
You're limited though. Like,
yeah. Maybe he shouldn't be doing stuff if he's that hurt. Anyhow, I thought that was a solid segment there from the Blackpool Club and the Elite. Shout out Harold Schneider dropping the super chat. Says, keep it up. We will, Harold. We will, just for you. Harold Schneider, member of the team. Drop us a super chat if you're watching on YouTube. I think you can support on Rumble as well. I know you can. I've got Rumble money. There's a $. Hit up that $sign on Rumble if you're watching us. Support the Ringside Report Network. Do it now. Do it now. I'm not going to keep
waiting for it.
I'm waiting. No, I'm joking. So, Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs. No, but do it now.
Do.
Yeah, take a drink.
Hey, take some time. There's no rush for this. It can happen.
We all know what happened with Wardlow and Powerhouse Hobbs. They had a wrestling match, and Wardlow won to become the 3-time now TNT champion. What a shit run for Powerhouse Hobbs. Pure garbage. He did nothing.
I mean,
he was in those backstage QT segments looking like a pure jabroni, and now he loses the belt like a month after he wins it. Terrible.
I mean, he defended against both Lucha Brothers.
On Rampage.
Right, but he still had defenses. It's on TNT. He's a
barely
TNT
counts.
champion.
If you defend on Rampage, no one cares. First Dynamite match he had, he lost.
Yeah, I guess true. There's no problem about that. Well, actually, no, that's incorrect.
Wow.
He beat. He won the week prior. Remember, he beat Silas Young.
Yeah, but that was a jabroni match. Silas Young.
Still defense.
Come on, man. He looked bad on Dynamite. People that only watch Dynamite, which is most people that watch AEW, are only watching Dynamite. They saw Powerhouse Hobbs win the belt at the pay-per-view, appear in those QTV segments that were garbage, beat Silas Young, and then lose to Wardlow. So in my mind, bad run. I don't care that he beat Rey Fenix and Pentagon on Rampage. First of all, they're tag team wrestlers. So in singles, like, whatever, it doesn't mean much. He didn't have a single meaningful feud outside of Wardlow, and that feud he lost. Like, his entire title run, he was feuding with Wardlow. Eventually they have the match, and he loses. That's not a good run. And it was short, and now Wardlow's TNT champion again, which, like, who cares? The highlight of this match was when Arn Anderson did a DDT on QT Marshall. Wardlow hit 3 power bombs, bada bing, bada boom, match is over. And then Hobbs doesn't even get to be in the mix going forward because Christian and Luchasaurus come out after the match and stare down Wardlow. So Wardlow's set up for his next deal. See ya, Hobbs. Back of the line, buddy. They didn't elevate him for shit. They did nothing for this guy. This is what I'm saying with AEW. You do something, and then you don't follow through. Let's make Hobbs a TNT champion. Okay. And then what? Have him lose to Wardlow in like 4 weeks. Why? What was the point? To introduce QTV as a thing? To give us more Aaron Solo and that blonde lady, whoever she is? I don't know what her name is. I think she's Australian. She comes out, her legs are very shiny. That's all I really noticed. I was distracted. I think I was even distracted on the finish or something. She was like shaking her butt at one point. I was like, what's going on there?
Before.
When Arn Anderson DDT'd QT, I think she was on the apron shaking her butt.
That was before that happened.
Yeah. I don't know. Everybody was looking at that, and something was happening in the ring, and no one was paying attention. So that's her job. She's like a Stacy Keibler type. She's like dressing like Miss Hancock in WCW. I don't know who she is, but I think she was the point of Hobbs getting a title run. Because I don't know what else the point was. To give QT more TV time so he could talk? Do we need QT promo time? Backstage QT segments? Who is booking this shit? No good. 2 thumbs down from Big Dave. Okay? Didn't like any of this.
I thought it was a good match. Like I really enjoyed the match. Like,
well, the match was okay, but there was a lot of like bullshit with QT and Arn Anderson and the butt lady. I mean, come on.
Yeah, but I didn't think it hurt the match though.
And then the finish.
Like, I actually think
the finish sucked.
Well, 3 power bombs. 3 power bombs is pretty impressive, actually. Like to do that to Hobbs like that, like
he didn't really.
I thought it was pretty good.
You know, just kind of picked him up and put him down. He didn't like power bomb him. Wasn't like a Sid power bomb or Kevin Nash power bomb. Jackknife a guy. God damn it.
Guy that size, you don't need to kill him 3 times.
Yeah, I think you do. Because that match was nowhere near what Jay White and Commander did. Nowhere near.
Oh, that match apparently is highly controversial. Apparently, a lot of mixed. I guess you liked it, but I know a lot of people that did not like this match.
Well, it was a very good wrestling match, but I think they gave Commander too much.
You think so?
Yeah. Because Jay White, you got to present him as a top star, and they're presenting him as kind of a mid-level guy. And I don't like that. I think Commander got too much offense in. What are people not liking about this match?
Well, it really comes down to that one spot where they're in the ropes, and Commander did the jumps, like back and forth on the top rope, and then the second rope. Apparently that spot, a lot of people had a problem. I saw that on my Twitter quite a bit where people are just like, this is bad for wrestling. This shouldn't be in wrestling. I'm just thinking, I guess people don't watch Lucha Libre, but a lot of people didn't think that made any sense and it was too long.
I've seen that spot before. I feel like I've seen Commander do that spot before on Dynamite. I don't know. It didn't move me at all. Did nothing to me.
Well, I've watched like a lot of Lucha Libre wrestling like before, so I mean, I've seen a lot more complicated stuff than that. But I think there was a little extra twist to it because I think he did a flip over, he bounced off the ropes and then landed back on his feet, and then bounced again on the rope. There was a lot of bouncing.
Yeah,
and I guess for some people it turns them off, but again, like that's a different style of wrestling. Like, just don't like that kind of wrestling.
Did he maintain wrist control? Did he maintain wrist control of Jay White while he was doing it? Or was Jay White just standing there?
Well, Jay White, if you saw, I think when he jumped the second time on the second rope, he actually gave him both his arms to make sure that Commander didn't fall down. I don't know if you noticed that part. So I don't know. Again, I guess people
That's what they do.
have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
But, I mean, you see that type of stuff on wrestling all the time. And you come to expect it with a guy like Commander. That lucha stuff, kind of, your opponent's going to give you a little hand every once in a while. I mean, you watch AEW, you see that stuff in every match almost, right? I don't understand why people pick and choose what they're mad about. It's everywhere.
Well, I think it's just because it's the spot that stood out. I think that's why. I got a very good reaction from the live crowd.
Yeah.
But I think it's just something where people are just like, oh, what is this? Because I guess some people like the traditional kind of wrestling where it's just like, if we're going to do a bunch of flips, it's just got to be a simple kind of flip. But if it's too complicated like that, it throws them off, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people just hate for the sake of hating too. So
yeah,
that's going to happen as well.
There's that too, right? And again, like, okay, there's a lot of fake looking stuff in pro wrestling, and I like it to look as real as possible, but we see Irish whips, which don't really make sense. Imagine a man throwing you against ropes, and you're running so fast that you actually turn around right when the ropes are coming, and then you bounce off the ropes and run back into them, and you can't stop it. You can't stop it. That's impossible. No one is that strong.
Well, and you see it nowadays. People just, by one hand can just do it by the back of your head, can throw you into the ropes like that. Like,
exactly. And you're like, whoa, right? I mean, Just an Irish whip. Just when one guy whips a guy into the ropes, it's not happening in a real fight. Like, imagine a guy in the UFC just like grabbing a guy's arm 2-on-1, whipping him into the cage, and then that guy runs into the cage, bounces back, and takes a clothesline or a Samoan spike, as we saw tonight. That was a botch finish.
Well, didn't they say a clothesline?
Cole said a clothesline. Cole said a closesline because it looked like a clothesline. Then when the match was over, he was like, "Oh, I guess it was a Samoan spike." That was great. That was fantastic.
I'm surprised they don't know the finishes. Like, they should know the finishes, but
You would think.
I guess they don't know them.
You would think. You'd think you'd know the finish of the main event, but
So, sometimes they don't tell the commentators what the finish are, so
yeah.
So they get more of a genuine reaction. In that case, it didn't work.
We'll get to Smackdown and everything WWE in a second here. I want to get to something that AEW did do well, which was the Chris Jericho Adam Cole promo. Cole talking about idolizing Jericho when he was growing up and how Jericho inspired him to be a wrestler, and he wanted to be a lot like Jericho. And he went to shake Jericho's hand, but Jericho says he's got no respect for Adam Cole, and he doesn't like him at all, and he's not worthy. Cole says Jericho is a jag-off, which I think is a Pittsburgh insult, I guess. The crowd seemed to pop for it. Cole asks if Jericho is an egomaniac who has the JAS win him matches, or is he the GOAT, the demo god, and the great Chris Jericho that everyone knows him to be. So he's kind of saying, you used to be cool, Jericho, now you're this JAS jerk. Cole says he thinks Jericho is an insecure, fickle, stupid idiot. Jericho says he is not a jagoff, which got a little comedy bit there for the crowd. Jericho says Cole doesn't impress him. And Jericho tells Cole, you don't want to meet your heroes, and if you're smart, you'll leave the ring right now. And he pushes Adam Cole. Cole's like, yeah, if I don't leave the ring, what are you going to do about it? And Jericho's like, brr, and he pushes him, right? And then Cole starts fighting Jericho, and he throws punches and boots him in the corner, and Daniel Garcia comes out to help his buddy Jericho and attacks Adam Cole, and Jericho and Garcia start beating up on Adam Cole. Britt Baker then comes out in her hometown. She's coming out here to the crowd to stop Jericho and Daniel Garcia from beating up her boyfriend. She actually pulls Jericho off of Cole and slaps Jericho in the face, but the camera completely missed it. I don't know if she actually hit him, but didn't look like she did. Him.
She did, though.
I'll take your word for it because they didn't show it to me on TV. You'd think they'd get that, but they didn't. And so Britt slaps Jericho, which prompts the Outcasts. So Saraya and Toni Storm and Ruby Soho all come out and start beating up Britt Baker. And then Daniel Garcia handcuffs Adam Cole to the bottom rope, and Jericho gets a kendo stick. And he goes to hit Adam Cole with the kendo stick, and Cole's like, yeah, come on, hit me. And it looks like Saraya and her friends are going to make Britt watch Adam Cole get viciously beaten. But then Cole is like, yeah, hit me, Jericho, you coward, hit me. And Jericho goes, He thinks for a second, and he played it so perfectly. And this is the brilliance of Chris Jericho and why he is still very useful and very relevant in pro wrestling, because he can do things like this better than most, especially better than most guys in AEW and really in WWE. He's a fantastic performer. And just the way he kind of stood there for a second and handed the kendo stick to Saraya so that she could beat down Britt Baker and have Adam Cole watch. It was just a perfect moment. It was perfectly done, and it was pure evil. It was fantastic. Just the handing of the kendo stick to Saraya, the crowd went, oh, And I'm at home going, oh, shit. Oh, Jericho, you bastard. You're so evil. I loved it. It was so good. And then Saraya starts beating the shit out of Britt Baker, just smashing her, and they beat her up. And Britt's got a black eye now. I don't know if you've seen the picture. It's going around Twitter, but Britt's all beat up. They're just beating the hell out of Britt Baker. And Adam Cole is like begging Jericho, please tell it to stop. Jericho's got these lady goons doing the dirty work. And then Jericho, Garcia, and the Outcasts eventually leave after delivering that vicious beating to Britt Baker. And Adam Cole is just, beside himself. Fantastic. Fantastic segment. Great stuff. Great angle. Did a really good job to make the issue between Jericho and Cole personal. They fleshed out a whole thing. You can have the match now. Makes a lot of sense. They set it all up. We know why Adam Cole and Jericho don't like each other. And now there's a personal issue with Britt Baker. Fantastic. Excellent. Excellently done. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss, but they hit here. This was very good. Jericho was great. Saraya was great. Saraya really sold it well. She was evil. She came off super evil here. She's the leader of that group, Tony Storm and Ruby Soho are cool, but Saraya is like the main one, and they're the other two. And Saraya was great there. Saraya and Jericho together, really fun, too. I like that. I like the Jericho Appreciation Society and the Outcasts having some sort of alliance. I didn't see it coming, and I thought it was really cool the way they put it all together. It made a lot of sense. So good. So good. Best angle they did on the whole show.
Well, it just, again, great because it's in Pittsburgh. Britt's a huge face, so you gave her a moment, won the tag team match, and then you made people feel for her with that segment. So excellently executed. And it just reminded me a lot of the Triple H, Randy Orton, Stephanie McMahon, like when they handcuffed Triple H. Just, with a different twist. I imagine Jericho thought about that kind of segment. It's like, this would be good, but instead of beat up Triple H, let's beat up Stephanie, but I can't beat up Stephanie. Like, oh, well, Saraya, can do that. So that's what pretty much happened.
Yeah. Randy, didn't he kick Stephanie in the head while Triple H watched?
Yeah, but you remember the kicks. Those kicks never really hit, right?
Yeah.
So.
But still, you can't do that. Can't do that now.
Well, you can't use a kendo stick, and, Jericho can't do that. But this worked for the angle and everything. And
yeah,
like more than likely, they're doing a tag match, I think, next week or something. It's Saraya and somebody against like Britt and did they announce a match or not? Or
I will tell you what we have. I think mostly they announced stuff for Rampage.
That's right, because we have to wait for Rampage for them to announce Dynamite matches. I forgot about that. Okay.
Coming up tomorrow night on Rampage. I don't know. Do you know what time the show's on?
Probably at 10.
So we don't know. It's tomorrow. Hijo del Vikingo will defend his AAA Mega Championship on Rampage, which should be fun. FTR, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett will take on the Varsity Athletes and Slim J in an 8-man tag. The Hardys, Hook, and Isaiah Cassidy will do some sort of promo about that deletion match they're going to have against some guys, Big Cass and people. Kira Hogan.
Match, yeah.
The what?
The match they're going to have at the Hardy compound, yeah.
Yeah, at some point they'll do it.
Happen.
Yeah. Akira Hogan will wrestle Julia Hart. John Moxley will wrestle Christopher Daniels, which is
interesting.
Yeah. And Jade Cargill will do a promo. Jade Cargill versus Taya Valkyrie for the TBS title is set for Dynamite next week. That's the only match that I know of that is official for Dynamite on Wednesday. But Moxley and Chris Daniels is kind of cool, right?
I mean, you can say Rampage doesn't look interesting, but I mean, I find I'm actually very interested to see what's going to happen this week on Rampage. Like, for the most part, Rampage isn't always the best, but when it's live, it actually can be pretty good. And with a decent card, Rampage isn't that bad. But most times it's not live, so it's not that interesting. And for the most part, like it goes from like it starts good, then just kind of goes downhill. They put the best matches right away because they realize they lose a lot of people. So by the time you get to the main event, you're not getting the best match.
I think they probably open with Moxley.
Probably makes sense.
It's not live either.
Oh, there you go too. That's probably not going to help them too much. But they realize they're on a Saturday too. Saturday night taped. Yeah, that's not going to go so well.
Hey, and I just checked, John. They did open up with Moxley and Daniels.
Well, there you go.
I just checked the spoilers, and they did open up with Moxley, which makes sense. And they closed with Vikingo wrestling Dralistico. That was the main event. That will be the main event.
Well, because they tape it, though, they can always change. They've changed it before in the past, where they've actually taped stuff and then just changed the order. So it's not impossible. They could do that, but Moxley makes sense. I mean, he's the biggest star in the show. You definitely want to start with him first, I think.
Yep. And that's what's going on in AEW world. Commander has signed officially to AEW, by the way. He is all elite. And
they're going to need more people if they're going to have more shows. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, Commander's a fun talent, too. Jim Ross getting into the weed business. Do you see that? He's opening a dispensary. He might have his own weed strain. I don't know. Barbecue.
Well, I heard him talk about it on his podcast, like saying that, it's no problem having weed. Like maybe it was a problem when RVD got arrested for it, but it's not a problem now.
That's right, pal. Good old JR celebrating 420. I know Nature Boy Ric Flair smokes a lot of weed these days. He's always talking about it and posting pictures about him and Mike Tyson smoking blunts or whatever. Ric Flair. Ric Flair's going to be on Joe Rogan, I think.
Wow, that's going to be
tomorrow?
Crazy.
Yeah, Ric Flair, I think, is on Joe Rogan I think it drops tomorrow or maybe it's out already. No, it's not out already.
That'll be something.
Oh, latest Joe Rogan is Joey Diaz. Joey Diaz there's a new Joe Rogan with Joey Diaz on it. I don't listen to all the Joe Rogans, but if Joey Diaz is on, I'm going to listen. That guy's the best. But I'll listen to Ric Flair, too, because that's big, right? The Nature Boy. Ric Flair can't be bothered to do his own podcast. I think he's had reruns for the past couple of weeks, but he's doing Joe Rogan. Right, Ric Flair's got a podcast. I was listening to it. It was pretty good. And then he seemed to stop doing it. I don't know what's going on. Not the most consistent. Not surprised.
Oh, he does it when he wants to do it kind of thing,
Uh-huh. He's nachin'. He's busy nachin'. All right, John, let's get to the WWE, which was a super flat week in WWE. With no Roman Reigns, I mean, what's the point? If Roman's not on TV, what are we watching for?
Well,
Raw was terrible.
Pretty much set.
Huh?
Raw wasn't the best, but
it was garbage.
I mean, again, I got through Raw this week. I didn't have to take a break and be like, oh, this is rough. I got through it all one sitting, and I thought the main event was excellent, to be honest.
These days I watch Raw on Monday nights. Live.
Yeah, I watched Raw on Monday, too. It's rare, but I did.
I've been doing that a lot lately. I don't know why. I think it's because the kids go to bed around 8 o'clock, and I want to stay up and do something, and I figure I might as well get Raw over with. I usually watch Raw with the Yankees game on in front of me. I usually do everything at night with the Yankees game on in front of me. Let's not talk about the Yankees tonight, okay?
Okay. It's not over yet.
They lost 6-1 to the Blue Jays. Of course it's not over. It's goddamn April, John. It's so early. But they lost to the Jays tonight.
You have that streak, right? You want to keep that streak going.
The streak of not losing a series all year?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They just took 2 out of 3 from the Angels. I don't think they've swept a series all year, though. Like, the Yankees have won 2 out of 3 in all the series that they've played, but they haven't won all 3. I don't think they've swept a single team, which is not great. Like, they have a good record, but they're not winning as much as they could be. They're not winning as much as the Rays, who won again tonight somehow. They are unstoppable. Wow. Yeah, they are unstoppable. Apparently they were down in the game and they came from behind and walked it off in the 9th or something. Like, the Rays just can't lose. They're unbeaten at home. Ridiculous. The Rays are crushing the AL East so far, but it's still early. But as a Montreal Yankee fan, I really hate to see them lose to the Blue Jays. I hate to see the Toronto Blue Jays have success ever, especially when it's against my New York Yankees. I really get upset when the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays. I don't like to see the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays, to the Rays, to the Astros, or the Red Sox. Those teams should never beat the Yankees. Thankfully, the Red Sox aren't really relevant anymore, so it's fine. But the Blue Jays, I really hate when the Yankees lose to the Blue Jays, because then the Blue Jays and Blue Jays fans are happy, which I don't like so much.
I have to say, seeing Vlad get home runs, I'm good with that.
I'm not. He could suck it. Fuck that guy.
I liked his dad. His dad was fantastic.
Yeah, Vlad Sr. is super cool because he played for the Expos and he's awesome. Vlad Jr. sucks. Vlad Jr. says he would never play for the Yankees. He said all sorts of disrespectful things to the Yankees. He got hit by a pitch tonight, Vlad Jr., and he was like, I'm going to maybe go up to the mound, threatening the pitcher, being all blah, blah, blah. It's a 6-1 game, man. He didn't hit you on purpose. Go to first base and shut the fuck up, Vlad Jr. Fucking Tony Rizzo almost knocked him unconscious. Tony Riz was about to go and fucking pop Vlad Jr. Would have been sick. I'm telling you, it's going to get crazy in the Bronx tomorrow. You got Manoah against Cole in the Bronx. Garrett Cole, Alex Manoah. Going at it. Go Yankees. But fuck Vlad Jr. Honestly, fuck Vlad Jr. As a Yankee fan, I got no love for him. Especially what he said about the Yankees. I don't like the Yankees. I would never play for them. Da-da-da. Shut up, man. We don't want you, all right? We'll take Ohtani when he comes up. We don't need no Vlad Jr. You're so far down the list of priorities. Nobody fucking wants you, bro. Stay in Toronto. Enjoy playing on fucking AstroTurf. Tell me how your knees are when you're 45 years old. Fuck out of here.
Well,
Vlad Jr. Don't get me started on Vlad Jr. Everybody in Montreal, Vlad Jr. Fuck Vlad Jr., all right? As a Yankee fan, I got no time for him. Fucking guy. Stupid fucking Blue Jays.
I'll tell AJ
I'm especially pissed. Especially pissed now that the fucking Yankees lost to the Jays tonight. And Vlad Jr. was all man when he got hit by a pitch.
Home run.
Huh?
Because Vlad got a home run. He didn't get a 2-run shot?
I don't know. Probably. Fuck that guy. He sucks, man. Okay. He sucks.
Great dad. Great.
I got no love for him, man. Vlad Jr. I'm supposed to like him because his dad played for the Expos? Why?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Why?
His dad was one of the best Expos of all time.
Yeah, so I love his dad. I think his dad was great. His son plays for the shitty Blue Jays.
It's not his
Who cares?
fault.
I like Dante Bichette. He played for the Colorado Rockies. He was cool. Bo Bichette plays for the Blue Jays. Jabroni. Got no love for him. Dante Bichette, cool. Bo Bichette, bad. Craig Biggio, cool. His son, Jabroni. He's a Blue Jay. Why they got all the sons on their team? It's like fucking WWE developmental over there.
I remember Josh Donaldson used to play for the Blue Jays. He was their MVP. Now he plays with the Yankees.
Yeah, he found the light. He saw the light. He's like, I'm going to play for a good team now. I'm sure he's much happier playing in New York than he is in Toronto. Got himself into all sorts of trouble in Toronto. Is that public knowledge? Do people know about that?
I remember hearing things about that, but I don't know if it really. Obviously, didn't end his career, so I don't think it really got blown out.
I think it got him out of Toronto. I think it got
maybe.
I think it got a reporter off the Blue Jays beat too. If you know what I mean. She was on the Josh Donaldson beat hard, baby. Got Donaldson in trouble with, I think, one of his wives or something. I don't know.
He has more than one wife. I thought only the Yankees do the wife swapping. Okay.
No. Everybody does it, baby. Well, not me, but pro baseball players, I guess, and Eric Bischoff and Jim Cornette. Yeah, Donaldson, he had like a thing with like a Blue Jays reporter. I'm not going to say who, but I know who it was. I could tell you, John, but I don't want to publicly shame the lady.
Well, maybe people already know. Who knows?
Yeah, well.
You send it in the comments if you know the name.
Yeah, say it in the comments if you know the name. I don't care. Yeah, you may have seen
Anyways, back to WWE, and the Backlash
Yes.
is all set now.
WWE, exactly. Back to WWE. The Backlash is mostly set, right? We have a bunch of matches that were added. How come Seth Rollins is wrestling Omos?
Well, because you complained that he wrestles Austin Theory too much, so they gave him another match.
But did they set this up at all?
I feel like maybe wasn't there a confrontation of some kind, like
Seth
face-to-face kind of?
Seth wrestled The Miz on Raw this week and beat him, obviously. But, like, it wasn't even short, you know? It was over 5 minutes. And
it was probably 10 to 15, to be honest.
yeah. It was too long.
Right?
It shouldn't have happened. Seth Rollins versus The Miz is not something I ever want to see ever.
We've seen it many times before, so.
Guess what? It sucked every time. It sucked again on Monday. Garbage. I don't want to see that shit. Seth and Miz. I don't want to see The Miz wrestle, period. Especially against Seth. So fucking bland, man. It's like, hey, do you want some toast with it's a toast sandwich with toast in between. It's fucking bland. It's garbage. Ugh. I hated it.
The main problem.
You can't put that on TV, man. It's embarrassing. You're gonna put that on television? I couldn't believe it. I was like, Seth Rollins is wrestling. Okay, who's he wrestling? The Miz? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe WWE would actually have the balls to put that bullshit on Monday Night Raw. A show that Stone Cold Steve Austin once beat people up upon. You're putting Seth Rollins and The Miz in a wrestling match that lasted over 10 minutes. Horrible. Just that alone was enough to make it one of the worst Raws ever. It was so goddamn bad. This show was horrible. And a big reason was because you let Miz wrestle for over 10 minutes. Stop it. With The Miz. Fucking Miz. Fucking Vlad Jr. Fucking goddamn, John.
Well, you're really not going to like this. I saw this match get a lot of high praise. A lot of people were saying, like, this is one of the best Miz matches of all time, and, like, this is what we need to see on Monday Night Raw.
Ugh.
Like, I saw Miz.
Who are you following
tweeting,
on
like,
Twitter? They're mad about Commander. They liking The Miz. You got to start unfollowing these people, John. I don't know who you're following or who is praising what, but all these people that you're following are wrong, and you need to stop following these people because they're mad about Commander dancing on the top rope. He's a lucha guy with goddamn mask on is what he's going to do. And then they're loving Seth and Miz. These people are just wrong about pro wrestling, John, and you need them out of your life.
Well, I could understand the whole Miz and Rollins because, like, they had a very good match years ago, and this kind of felt like them reproducing it almost in a sense, just a little bit more updated. The only problem is, and this was a problem I felt throughout the show, it's just another rematch we've seen not too long ago. So that was my big gripe with it. Was like, this is good. This is a fine match, but I saw this a couple of weeks ago, and before that, a couple of weeks ago before that. Like, this is something we've seen so often. Like, it just didn't add anything in my sense. Like, I get your whole, like, it was kind of playing just because it's nothing out of the ordinary. You see this almost every second or fourth week.
Yeah, it was not good. Raw opened with the Usos, Solo, and Paul Heyman doing a promo, and then the Judgment Day come out and they face off with the Bloodline guys. And then Heyman shakes Damian Priest's hand, and they have some sort of deal. Heyman says it's a very good day to be a very bad guy, so he's like, oh, it's a bad guy alliance. And Roman Reigns has made a short-term deal with the Judgment Day, and Jey Uso says he didn't know anything about it, and Rhea Ripley kind of stares down Solo Sikoa, and there seemed to be some heat between the groups, but they have joined forces for, I guess, one night only, or maybe a couple nights. Because SmackDown,
I think
too.
one.
Right?
SmackDown, how do they really help each other? Didn't seem like they helped each other at all. If anything, they kind of ignored it on SmackDown.
Yeah, they did, right? Yeah, Damian and Finn wrestled on SmackDown, but they just wrestled Rey and Santos, so it wasn't really anything to do with the Bloodline. I guess it was just a one-night thing. I don't know. It was kind of odd. Solo winds up wrestling Rey Mysterio, though. That's where the promo was going. And the Usos showed up during the match, of course. Then the LWO showed up and jumped the Usos. And Rey hit a 619, but Solo moved out of the way when Rey went for the splash. And then Solo hit the Samoan Spike. 1, 2, 3, Rey wins. And then the Usos attacked the LWO after the match, and they hit Rey with the 1D. So the Usos standing tall after another win from Solo, which we could skip over to SmackDown and keep with the Bloodline story here because they were on SmackDown. It was Usos doing a promo about the tag team title match that they have next week against Sami and Kevin. And the 6-man tag that they're going to have at Backlash, it'll be Usos and Solo versus Riddle, Sami, and Kevin. Roman will not be at Backlash. He will not be defending the title at Backlash. Roman, of course, not on the show tonight, not on Raw. And Solo Sikoa winds up beating Matt Riddle tonight. Riddle dumped the announce table on Solo. The Usos then came out from the crowd and started beating up on Riddle after Solo was down. Riddle manages to get the Usos out of the ring and did a dive on them. Solo got back up, hit a rock bottom on the apron on Riddle. Went for the spike, but Riddle ducked, hit a knee. Riddle then bounced off the ropes and ran into a clothesline spike from Solo. So Solo kind of throws his arm and hits the spike, but it looked like just a clothesline, and Michael Cole goes clothesline, and Solo pins Riddle 1, 2, 3, and then Cole goes, oh, I guess he got him with the spike there and the clothesline, and so Michael Cole thought it was just a clothesline, but then once he saw that he beat him with that move, he's like, well, it must have been the spike, I guess. So the finish was a little... Huh?
Can't beat him with a clothesline.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's it. It's not Stan Hansen over here winning with a lariat. That's not how things work. He was the first guy I thought of winning with a clothesline. Who's the last guy that had JBL, right? Clothesline from hell.
JBL.
Yeah, he had a good clothesline. So Solo beats Riddle. The match was fine, solid match. And
it was okay. I thought the Rey match was better.
Rey and Solo on Raw? Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
I thought so too. Usos hit the 1D on Riddle through a table after the match. Kevin and Sami were not there for some reason to help Riddle. Did they not expect? Did they not know that Riddle had a match against Solo that was no DQ on SmackDown? You would think that they would know that the Usos would get involved, and Riddle's kind of their buddy, been helping them in their feud with the Bloodline, but they're not there to back him up, and he gets put through a table.
I mean, they end Raw brawling. And we're just going to take SmackDown off, even though we're the undisputed tag champs. And, we should actually be on every show if that's the case. And if not mistaken, Sami was drafted to SmackDown, so he should be on SmackDown. But, yeah, whatever. They just decide not to show up, because why not? Just take the night off.
Didn't make a ton of sense. Did not make a ton of sense. Riddle, Kevin, and Sami beat the Judgment Day in the main event of Raw, which was a fantastic main event. A great match.
It hurts
best
SmackDown
match
now.
on the
So
show
bad.
for sure. Huh?
Oh yeah, but like it's more infuriating watching SmackDown where it's like you end with a brawl, and then you decide, oh, the tag champs aren't going to be there on the next show. Like, really didn't make any sense. Like, if you end a show like that and then have not a follow up to that afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the LWO, like, why didn't they save Riddle? They were there.
Yep.
Plot holes.
Yep.
Plot holes.
I don't know. It didn't make a ton of sense. So Riddle, Kevin, and Sammy beat the Judgment Day, which was Finn, Damian, and Dominic. And then the Usos and Solo attacked Kevin, Riddle, and Sammy after the match. And Ray and the LWO came out, and they make the save. And then there's this big brawl with the LWO and Kevin and Sammy and the Bloodline and Judgment Day. And they're all over the ring. And Ray hits a 619 on Dominic. And Kevin Owens dumps Damian Priest on the announce table. And then the babyfaces all stood tall to close the show. Ray and the LWO guys and Kevin and Sammy and Riddle, they're all standing tall to end the show. And like you say, John, it is a real miss when you have Riddle in this no DQ match at the end of SmackDown, and the Usos come out and interfere during the match, and they beat up Riddle after the match, and there's no LWO, there's no Kevin, there's no Sammy. Riddle's just left there on his own to get beat down. Didn't make a ton of sense.
Well, it just feels like, I guess no one really likes Riddle all that much. That's what it seemed like to me.
Right?
Oh, well. Too bad for him.
Kevin doesn't seem to like Riddle. When they do those backstage promos, Sammy's kind of like, hey, Riddle's cool. And Kevin's like, eh.
Well, to be fair, Kevin's very, doesn't like anybody really. That seems to be his thing. So
Yeah. He doesn't seem to like Sammy that much.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was the Bloodline story this week, and that's pretty much the main thing going on in the WWE. Elsewhere on Raw, we had Bianca Belair over Dakota Kai in a match that was not good.
I can hear the excitement in your voice, yes.
I mean, what did you think?
I thought, they tried, but my main issue with matches like this is when it's a lot of just counter everything, and then you get a move and it's not really much of anything. So they worked really hard, but in the end, it just didn't seem like it was very entertaining in the end. And I didn't like the whole, like, oh, I'm going to pull her hair in order to get out of her finisher. Like, they never call that on the refs never say anything. Like, you just pulled the hair, and they just make it seem like it's a thing you can do. I'm not a big fan of that, but always with Bianca's matches, though, it's just like, well, out of nowhere, she just finally wins. There's no build up to that. She has no, like, little setup thing where it's like, oh, this is the lead up to the finish. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to grab her, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I find that actually hurts her a lot, where she's not going to get over as much, where it's just like, well, the finish, that's it. But you need to build towards the finish.
Yeah, like a few setup moves that people recognize.
Like a lot of guys have, or a lot of women, they have kind of like things that set up for it, like Charlotte. Mm-hmm. So many moves that kind of set up for it. So there's many different variations of her to do it. Even like Liv Morgan has setups for it. She has the code breaker thing that leads into her move.
Yeah. I don't know. The match with Dakota Kai was not great, and I didn't really understand why we were having it when Io got a title shot last week. What are we waiting for?
I think it's just because Io's got the shot, but Dakota wants to kind of show what she could do if she had an opportunity. So that seemed to be what they were kind of telling us, I guess.
Okay. And she lost. So.
Yep.
Doesn't tell us much. Cody Rhodes does an in-ring promo, calls out Brock Lesnar. Adam Pearce comes out instead and tells Cody to leave the ring because he's not medically cleared because of the beating that Brock gave him a couple weeks ago. Cody goes to leave, but then gets a chair instead and comes back in the ring. Security guards come out and try and stop Cody, and Brock Lesnar comes out with security guards between him and Cody. Brock on the stage. looking like he's the Undertaker in that big old black jacket and the big black cowboy hat. Adam Pearce begs Cody not to do anything and tells him that he'll get his match with Brock Lesnar, just don't do anything crazy here now tonight. And Cody then attacks some security guards and hits them with a chair. And Brock is standing on the stage this whole time, kind of taunting Cody, telling him to bring it, but there's a bunch of security. And Cody just beating up security people. And Brock eventually just leaves, and nothing happens between Brock and Cody. Cody says Brock can wear a silly cowboy hat all day long, but he grew up around cowboys, and Brock is not a cowboy. He's a coward. So, Cody grew up around cowboys. I guess Dusty had some cowboy friends. And he says Brock is a coward. And then we go to commercial, and we come back, and we see Brock Lesnar walking backstage. And somebody's like, Brock. And then that was it. He's just walking.
Yep.
Thought there'd be more to it. But no, there's Brock. Bye, Brock. Okay.
Got to make the most out of that. That's an expensive appearance, so you had to really get your money's worth.
Did they make the most out of it?
For some, because I guess, Cody looked pretty strong, beating up 20 security guards that looked pathetic, but,
I mean,
I guess for some.
Everybody does it.
Yeah, but I don't know about you. Like, these security guards looked really pathetic looking. Like, none of them looked like they knew how to fight whatsoever. They all look smaller than Cody for the most part. Like, when does that happen? Like, I guess they just got a bad, like, enhancement talent, like, kind of bunching right there. Like, it didn't seem like very intimidating whatsoever. And maybe the fact that they didn't show much of a fight too, like, I just felt like this kind of looked bad because Cody just beating up guys that are not really much of anything. It doesn't look that good. And Cody, like, no offense, he's not exactly the biggest guy in the world. It kind of looks ridiculous when he's the guy doing it. He's not like a Brock. Like, when Brock does it, yeah, it's fun to do, but Cody doing it, it's like,
yeah,
you're stretching it here.
It seemed cartoonish. It didn't seem like it made any kind of sense. And they were in Little Rock, Arkansas, so maybe that was the best jobber talent that Little Rock, Arkansas had to offer, John. It's not necessarily a hotbed for pro wrestling, I guess.
Well, maybe just tell the enhancement talent next time, like, show more of a fight or something, or be a little bit more intimidating, because, like, it seemed like all of them were just going to piss themselves like, when Cody touched them. Like,
Cody did an interview later on in the show, a backstage interview, more Cody talking, and he says, why am I not WWE champion, and why was there security stopping me tonight, but none when Brock attacked me, and I've got the Beast cornered now, and he needs a win to get out of the corner, but I'm not going to let that happen at Backlash. Yeah. It was a weird little promo there from Cody.
I think he was supposed to get that little bit out there at the end, and I guess he forgot to say that part. So I think that's why maybe they had him do that, possibly.
I guess. It was odd. It was like, oh, yeah, and here's a couple more words from Cody. It was an odd little promo, and it didn't seem to have a place. Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory went to a no contest. Hey, Bobby Lashley wrestled Austin Theory again. How many times? You got to get a count. How many times on Raw alone? Forget pay-per-views. Just Raw. I mean, it's got to be over a dozen.
Possibly. I can think of 3 offhand. But yeah, you're probably right, because then you think of tag teams, triple threats. Yeah, probably a lot.
Too much. But when I saw this match announced, I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Well, they have a draft coming up, so don't worry about it. We'll only get so many more rematches.
Bobby and Theory went to a no contest when Bronson Reed splashed both guys in the corner. Bronson attacked Bobby after the match. Bobby fought back, though, and set him up in the hurt lock, but then Theory drop-kicked Bobby and escaped, which allowed Bronson to hit a Samoan drop and then a splash from the top rope on Lashley. Theory helping Bronson beat up Bobby, even though Theory did get splashed by Bronson. Right? They were both in the corner, and Bronson just kind of squashed both of them.
Yeah.
But they'll do a triple threat at Backlash. So that's official for the U.S. title triple threat: Bronson Reed, Bobby Lashley, and Austin Theory. Hey, another Bobby Lashley Austin Theory match for the U.S. title. How many of these have we had? But Bronson Reed's involved now, so I guess it's fresh and new. Except it's not. But, whatever. Sucks.
I don't know what you make of Bronson Reed's new Mr. Nice Guy character, but I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think really adds much to him. I think they have ideas for it, and we'll see how it works out, but I don't know if it's really going to work out too well. I think with him, it's just keep it simple. He's a guy who goes in there and he smashes people. This whole he's really a nice guy thing, and then has a dark side kind of thing. It's not the greatest gimmick in the world.
Nope. I like him in the ring, though. I think he's a lot of fun. I like him as a wrestler, but
I was big on his match with Lashley last week. I thought it could have been better.
Yeah. It went to a double count out, though. It wasn't much of anything. I think the triple threat could be good at Backlash. We'll see.
Maybe. I don't know. Like you said, they're doing this Theory and Lashley stuff way too much. I mean, adding in Reed will really make it better. Wait and see. I don't know.
Trish Stratus did her promo. This is a highlight of Raw. Trish was good.
I liked it.
She came out, she talked about how when she came into the WWE, nobody cared about women's wrestling back when she started, and she made people care by herself. It wasn't her and Lita, it was her. And I agree with that. I mean, if you were around back then, Lita was just another opponent for Trish. Trish was the centerpiece of that division. Lita was a feud for
huge.
her and a big star, but Trish was the main, she was the main one.
No, Lita was the main one, because Lita beat Stephanie for the title. That was huge. That was the main event of Raw, too, by the way. That was the first, I think, women's title match main event. They like to redo history and all that, saying that Trish and Lita, but it's actually Lita versus Stephanie when Lita beat Stephanie for the women's title. That, to me, that was the biggest women's title match. And then Trish came along afterwards, once Trish, became a better wrestler, but Lita was beforehand, because that was during the whole authority thing.
Yeah.
Actually, no, sorry, the Stephanie McMahon, the Triple H, that McMahon Helmsley regime.
But her wrestling career was pretty short in that era.
Lita? Yes and no. I mean, she had that injury, right? Because she got hurt doing that, filming Dark Angel.
Yeah.
But she had many moments where she stood out, because she was always involved with the Hardys, right? And the Hardys are always in big matches. So she had her match, and she also had a moment with the Hardys as well. Lita was one of the top women easily in wrestling. There's no doubt about that.
But Trish was the star.
She came later, though.
Yeah, but she was much bigger.
Eventually. It didn't happen overnight. It took some time. She had to catch up, because Lita was already way ahead of her.
Yeah, but without Trish as the center of the division, there is no division. Lita, she was good, and she was a better wrestler than Trish, but she wasn't a star that the division revolved around. Lita Trish had things, kept the division going. She had WrestleMania matches. She, her thing with Mickie James, the WrestleMania match there, that's a big program. She advanced women's wrestling. I think Lita did too, but Trish was the star. Trish was the main one. Lita was first, but Trish made it bigger. And it really didn't mean as much when it was Lita.
Oh, I definitely disagree with you on that one, but we'll disagree on that one.
That's fine. But Trish just made it bigger. She brought it to another level.
She added something different. And it was a different way of doing it with Trish. But Lita, I feel with Lita, she really took it by storm in a sense. Like no one was doing moonsaults in the women's division.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lita was like no one could touch Lita in a sense. Trish eventually did catch up to her, but it took time.
Yeah, but Lita didn't make a huge impact like Trish did. When Lita came in, I mean, I remember Lita when she was Miss Congeniality there in ECW, and I remember when she debuted in WWF with S.A. Rios. Like, nobody gave a shit. Wasn't
Well,
a big
that's a
deal.
real stab. But when she was with the Hardys, then it became a
Oh,
huge
yeah.
deal.
I mean, it was a very over group. But the Hardys were, you know, like Lita got over because of the Hardys. Trish got over because of
Fine.
Trish.
Sure, fine. I'm not going to deny that one, but still, like, Lita got over because Lita was more exposed,
Mm-hmm.
and for a while, she was the only one. They had to build Trish up, and what helped Trish a lot was that involvement with the whole Vince and Shane angle going into WrestleMania 17. That's what got Trish on the map. So
Yeah,
she also got help too.
of course. Of course. Um, but I always saw Lita as or Trish as the main star in the women's division, and
I think
Lita as just
eventually,
kind of a player.
feel like eventually Trish did overtake Lita. It happened at a certain point. I feel like by 2004 or 5, I think she did because Lita wasn't wrestling that much. That whole scandal happened with Edge. So she wasn't more of a wrestler. She was more of like just a personality at that point.
Yeah,
So I think Trish was still going for a bit longer. And I think it helps too in a sense because Trish retired beating Lita. So in a sense, it's like Trish won in the end against her. So they can tell history that way in that sense, and it works. But you can't deny Lita for what she did.
I'm
She
not.
added a lot.
I'm not trying to deny Lita, but Trish saying that it was her. It wasn't her and Lita, because a lot of people now are like Trish and Lita were the ones. Trish and Lita, and I see it as Lita was important, but so was Molly Holly, so was, Miss Jacqueline, so was Jazz, so
Victoria,
was Ivory. Like a lot of people, Victoria, a lot of people were important back then, but Trish was like the star. Like a lot of people were big in the Attitude Era, like Triple H and Undertaker and Mick Foley, but Stone Cold was the main one. That's how I see
right?
Trish. She was the main one, you know? And that's what
Well, you
she's
can say
saying. But I think a lot of people kind of think, well, maybe don't know that she was like the main one. Because a lot of people now, WWE presents it as Trish and Lita. Trish and Lita, they wrestled each other, and you might get the impression that Trish only wrestled Lita and vice versa. But, there was a lot of other stuff that they did, and Trish was kind of the main star in my eyes. I mean, a lot of people were saying she was the greatest women's wrestler of all time until Charlotte Flair came along, right? I think Charlotte took over.
there's a lot of debate on that kind of stuff, but I mean, Trish, you can't deny what she did without question. Like
Yeah.
one of the greatest of all time, definitely.
And still in the ring, man, her promos better than Lita's, right? I mean, the promos that Lita's been doing recently have not been great. Trisha's promo this week, she's in the ring, she's by herself with a microphone, and she hit it out of the park. She says, Becky, she acts like her and the four horse ladies made the women's evolution, but it would be nothing without me. I'm Trish Stratus. And the fans were chanting, "This is awesome," when Becky and Charlotte and Ronda main evented WrestleMania, but they should have been chanting, "Thank you, Trish." And Trish said she got really mad when she saw Lita acting like Becky's little sidekick at WrestleMania. And Trish is like, "This?" She's like pointing to her physique. She's like, "This is nobody's sidekick." And I was like, "Yeah, Trish. You tell him." And she says she took out Lita so that she could get Becky to herself, and she's there to remind everyone that she's the greatest of all time, and not to forget that Trish is the best. Solid promo.
Okay, that's a little bit of a hold there, where it's like Becky out of yourself. Then why did you go out and lose the match
Yeah, didn't make
like
sense.
that? Like that didn't make a lot of sense. And like
Yeah,
you had to take out Lita to do that. Like
yeah, didn't make sense.
okay, all right.
But that's not Trish's fault. That's the booking, man. I mean, it was a mess, but what are you going to do?
Well, she made the most of that promo. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
Like I liked it. I know some people weren't a big fan of it or they thought it was boring or something, but I mean, again, she made the most what she could with the material. I feel Trisha's best promos are the ones she's done backstage. Those are the ones people remember the most. In the ring, like she's okay, but nothing that really stands out. But I thought this was fine. It told the story, got the point across. I just wonder where are we going from here though, because like apparently Becky's injured, so
Oh,
are we not getting a match now? And like Trisha's just going to be gone now? Like what's going on?
Becky's injured?
Apparently it's just some sort of foot injury. Apparently,
Oof. Okay. Well, I would think that they would be heading towards a Backlash match, but if Becky's not ready for that, maybe Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia or all the way to Money in the Bank in London in July or SummerSlam, I guess, in August. I mean,
it's going to be a long build.
I guess. If they're not doing it at Backlash, I mean, they could just do it in Saudi Arabia.
If Trish wants to travel that far,
Yeah.
I don't know
Saudi
what she
Arabia.
wants to do.
I don't know. Well, we'll see.
She ain't bringing
We'll
her
see.
kids there.
No. Hopefully they get the match done. But maybe we'll just forget about it. Or forget about it for a while and then bring it back when Becky's ready and then go from there.
Like, I wouldn't mind if Trish is just going to be a regular on the roster now. Like, to be honest, they kind of need it because nothing else is really interesting in terms of the women's division. Like, you talk about how, the women's division is so great here. Like, really? Like, what's so great right now in the women's division, to be honest?
Yeah.
Like, you have
Rhea
no
Ripley.
Charlotte. Okay, what's Rhea doing? She's wrestling against Zelina Vega. Like,
yeah.
No offense to Zelina, but that's not exactly a big match.
Well, I disagree because Rhea is a newly crowned champion. She's very strong. She's over like crazy. People are loving Rhea Ripley right now. She's great.
Right. Okay.
And Zelina is the only Puerto Rican woman on their roster, and they're doing a pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. I think that makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense to have somebody with the Puerto Rican heritage getting a title shot. Like Zelina, okay, she's not really in the mix. She hasn't won a lot of matches. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But the LWO thing she's involved with, and that's, going right now. They never win, but, they're doing stuff. They're feuding with the Rhea Ripley's group there, the Judgment Day. It makes sense. It makes sense to do the match now, right? Because of the Judgment Day feud, because they're in Puerto Rico. Like, the match makes a lot of sense, and I think the crowd will be hot for it. You say it's not a big match, but I think because it's in Puerto Rico, because it's a title match, the crowd will be hot for it, and it will be fun. And I think Zelina is a decent in-ring wrestler, and Rhea Ripley might be able to pull something great out of her. So I am actually not mad about that match, and it's one that I hope will deliver. And I think the crowd is going to have a lot to do with it. Hopefully the crowd gets behind Zelina and we see something special. I think it could be special.
I mean, if the crowd gets into it, and more likely they will, but
yeah.
I worry about the match, though. I don't know. Like, because Zelina doesn't have enough. She's not over enough, though. Like, in terms of her move set, like, what's really going to get the crowd going? Like, she does a Hurricane Rana, okay. Yeah. And I guess she can do a moonsault every now and then, so she'll probably pull that out. That's probably pretty much it, though. Like, she doesn't exactly have a wide variety of offense, and plus, it wouldn't make sense if it's a long match.
Yeah.
Like, she's so small going against Rhea, like this can only be so good, I think. But like you said, we'll see what happens with Rhea, like what she can pull off.
Yeah, Rhea's pretty damn good. I got faith in Rhea Ripley. See your clothesline, Kevin Owens? Smashed him on Raw.
Yeah, well, Kevin was bumping like crazy. Kevin was amazing on Raw. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Kevin makes everyone look good.
He really does. He's fantastic. Too bad he wasn't on SmackDown. Hell of a match on Raw, though. Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville beat Michin and Candice LeRae on Raw. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez were watching from ringside because they had a tag team title match tonight on SmackDown against Chelsea and Sonya. So you knew who was winning that match, right? It was like, well, it's not going to be Michin and Candice. And then you knew who was winning the match tonight on SmackDown because obviously Liv and Raquel, the new babyface champions, aren't going to drop it to Chelsea and Sonya here in a throwaway match. And the finish was dumb. Liv Morgan poured water on Chelsea's head. Chelsea's had a water bottle, and Liv poured water on her head. Okay, I guess you're allowed to do that. It's not technically a weapon, so no disqualification on that. Maybe.
Well,
I don't know,
the ref
John.
didn't see that. The ref didn't see that, so whatever.
Okay, the ref didn't see the water pour, which is borderline, I guess, cheating. But then Liv does a sunset flip and has Chelsea down, and Raquel sticks her foot on Liv's butt to give Liv extra pressure on the pin. They cheated to win, 1, 2, 3, and the babyface champions cheat to win this shitty jabroni tag team that they really shouldn't have to cheat to win to beat. You got to cheat to beat fucking Chelsea and Sonya? I don't know, man. That was not good.
Well,
it was not good. The match wasn't good. The finish wasn't good. None of this was good.
Like, here's their logic. It's because the heels cheated beforehand, so they got a taste of their own medicine, right? That's their logic behind it. But like you said, if it takes you this to go through all that, like, to beat them, and you have to cheat to beat them just to prove a point kind of thing, it still makes you look like you couldn't beat them without it. That you had to do this because you struggled throughout, and until you poured the water and used the cheat as well with the whole leverage, that's your first tag team title defense. It doesn't look too good.
Yep, I don't know why they did that. It was a bad finish.
It's not exactly
bad match.
Toughest tag team. Like, wait until they get to Ronda and Shayna. Like, they're gonna get steamrolled. Looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Ronda's healthy again.
Damian and Finn. Yeah, we're waiting for Ronda to come back to end this Raquel Liv disaster. Damian and Finn beat Rey and Santos Escobar. Escobar was unaware that Damian Priest was legal after a blind tag. Priest did his chokeslam finish on Escobar for the pin. Where was Dominic? Isn't Dominic the whole reason why this is all happening? He wasn't there. The match was fine, though.
Rhea wasn't there either, I don't believe.
Nope, she wasn't on the show at all. It was a weird match to have on SmackDown because there was no follow-up. There was no Dominic, there was no Rhea, there was no anything, but they just had a Damian and Finn versus Rey and Santos match. I guess Damian did a promo after the match saying, "Oh, Bad Bunny, you're going to be on Raw Monday. I hope you don't get beat up again like last time when I beat you up." Can he not do that laugh anymore? That laugh is horrible. What the hell is that laugh that he does?
I'm betting somebody told him to do it, so that's why he's doing it.
I think you're right. I would say you're right. But, no Dominic, no Rhea. It was weird. I mean, SmackDown tonight felt like bare bones. Kevin and Sami didn't show up. Dominic Mysterio couldn't even be bothered. The SmackDown Women's Champion, Rhea Ripley, not there. Where was everybody?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just still that WrestleMania letdown kind of thing, so they're letting people relax. But, I mean, if you look at WWE, who's healthy and who's not healthy, there's a lot of people who are injured right now. So I guess they're trying to make sure a lot of people are still able to go. Raw's a long show, so they need more people for Raw to get through that.
I guess. The draft will start on SmackDown next week, which is fun. So that'll start.
I guess.
Yeah, well,
it's fun. Like, it's only starting.
Mm-hmm. A Shinsuke Nakamura video package played, and it sounded like Master Splinter from the Ninja Turtles was narrating. Did you catch that? Who's that narrator?
I didn't catch who it was. It'd be cool if it was Master Splinter, like the actual original one.
No.
I don't think it was, yeah. I feel like he may have passed away, sadly, so.
And then Karrion Kross did a promo backstage about Nakamura. They keep teasing a match between those two, so at some point that'll happen. Braun Strowman and Richard O'Shea beat the Viking Raiders. The match was good, but I feel like Braun and Ricochet aren't a real tag team. The Viking Raiders were on a bit of a run. They were trying to do something with them, and then they stopped them flat here dead with this loss to Ricochet and Braun Strowman. A clean loss that I don't think they needed to take. I think you needed to build a team like the Viking Raiders to maybe have them as a legit threat against Kevin and Sami down the road, but no. Instead, Braun and Ricochet win, and watch them get split up in the draft next week. And they'll no longer be a tag team, despite beating one of the only real tag teams in the WWE a week prior. You know what I'm saying? This is the type of dumb WWE shit that they do. Let's give Braun and Ricochet one last hurrah as a tag team and then split them up. And yeah, we'll have them beat the Viking Raiders because, who cares about an actual tag team that we have in our division? Who can work, who looks good. They all look like pro wrestlers. They got a whole gimmick going and whatever. Let's just have this makeshift tag team beat them. I bet you anything Braun and Ricochet are drafted to separate brands next week.
Oh, you're probably right, but that's how WWE kind of sees their...
maybe not. Sorry, hold on.
What are you talking about?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just had a thought that they maybe will not be drafted to separate brands because Ricochet is, I think, married or engaged to the ring announcer, Samantha Irvin there, and she's on Smackdown only, right?
She is, yeah.
And Braun Strowman is dating or engaged to Raquel Rodriguez,
who's on both shows.
Yeah, but mostly SmackDown, I think, right?
She was on Raw. Like the women's tag team titles can be on both shows.
Before she was champion, she was on SmackDown. I'm just saying, I think they might keep them together and maybe on SmackDown because their girlfriends work on SmackDown type of thing. And they usually keep the couples together to keep people happy. So that's my only thought about that. Like, oh, well, maybe they don't break them up because of their girlfriends. I don't know.
But I think they're all drafted right now to SmackDown as it stands right now, even though they go to any shows anyways. But I could see Braun going to Raw just because they usually have to have Raw have a bigger roster because it's long a show.
I'm telling you, if Raquel Rodriguez has Braun Strowman's children, those kids will be future world champions at wrestling or whatever the hell they want to do. Imagine. They're beasts. Like Raquel Rodriguez and Braun Strowman, they are monstrous people. Big people. Strong people. If they had a kid, it would be scary, I think.
Maybe. But you see with some kids don't make it into wrestling.
I guess, but figure if you're Braun Strowman and Raquel Rodriguez's kid, you got a good shot of being at least 6'8" and 400 pounds. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be a wrestler, but maybe you're something. Anyways, Liv and Raquel won tonight. The match was not good. The match that was good tonight, I think the match of the night was Gunther and Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods is having some great matches. His match with LA Knight last week was fantastic. His match with Gunther tonight I thought was the best match on SmackDown. I wouldn't mind seeing Xavier Woods get a run with the Intercontinental title at some point. Didn't get it tonight. Mm-hmm. Gunther defends the IC title, gets Woods to sleep, a sleeper hold, and Woods fell asleep, so loses by technical submission. Gunther retains the Intercontinental title. Match of the night. Fantastic.
That was a good match. Just I feel it was too early to do this. Like Xavier just wins one match and he gets a title shot. Like you could have built this a bit. It could have meant more. Like when he hit that top rope leg drop, it's like there's no reason to get excited. He never wins with a leg drop. I actually got more excited when he did like a roll up because he's actually won on roll-ups before.
Yeah.
Like this needed to be built more. This was too soon.
That top rope leg drop though, thing of beauty. My God. So nice.
And I imagine if he'd done that for weeks and weeks and maybe won some matches with it, they could have done this. This could have been built better.
This could have main evented the show too.
Could have, yeah.
I think it should have. Like Riddle and Solo only main evented because the bloodline is associated with it. But this could have been on earlier, and we could have main evented with Gunther and Woods for the Intercontinental title, and people would have gone in thinking, oh, maybe. Because if it's the main event, you got more of a feel. There's more of a, oh, maybe something will happen. But because they did this as, to open the 9 o'clock hour, it was like, well, Woods is not going to win. I think if you would have had it in the main event, you would have got people to believe a little bit more. And it was a match worthy of closing the show. It was a title match. It was the best match on the show. I think it should have closed the show, but it didn't.
Well, it's mainly because Solo, they're pushing. He's the most pushed guy right now in all of WWE. So, if he's not opening the show, he's closing the show. Like he's in that kind of spot right now. So, that's the main reason. I think he's the most featured guy. So they're running with that like crazy. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we get Solo versus Roman, down the line, because he's the most pushed guy.
Yeah.
Who else could Roman face?
I think they're going there.
Not right away, obviously, but maybe by the end of the year. Who knows? The Rumble?
Yeah. I would wait for another 2 years and maybe have Solo be the one to take it from Roman. After no one takes it for another 2 years.
That's a long time, but okay.
Well, two more Manias. 2 more Manias. Not next year's Mania. Next year's Mania, you do a rematch with Cody and you have Roman beat him again. And then the year after, you do Solo and have Solo win. Or next year's Mania, you do The Rock if you can get him, which would be better.
That would be better, but I don't know. When they said, it's 964 days now for Roman Reigns, it's not that great of an accomplishment when you're not even on the show, though. When he's not even there, it's like, well, time's just passing by, but he's not there. So it really kind of takes away from this incredible title reign when, well, you're not really doing anything, though. You can't even show up to the show, so it's like, it's not that impressive really anymore.
Well, whatever. Was it really that impressive when Bruno Sammartino was going on however many years as champion? Didn't CM Punk cut a promo when he was on his long run about how Sammartino didn't have to work as much as he did, and this guy didn't do this, and maybe in the modern era I'm the longest reigning champion, but I worked harder than all these old guys that were champion before me, Bob Backlund and Hogan and stuff like that.
I think title defenses, when you look at title defenses, yeah, that can say a lot. Yeah, Sammartino didn't have as many title defenses. And I think Roman's had even less title defenses.
Than Sammartino?
Yeah.
No. Really?
Well, you might want to look that up. I think he has.
Oh, I don't know. Sammartino was once a month, right?
About that. Maybe a bit more, but yeah.
Well, I'm not going to go and look up that math right now while we're doing the show, but maybe we could do it for next week and have some answers. Who has defended the world title more, Roman Reigns or Bruno Sammartino? Anything else? I think we're good. Anything else happen on SmackDown? Nope. That was it. That was SmackDown. That was SmackDown. That was Raw. That was wrestling. Ta-da.
For this week. We covered all Backlash, all the matches.
Let's see. Backlash coming up in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, Puerto Rico. San Juan? Yeah. San Juan, Puerto Rico on May the 6th. We have Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn against Solo Sikoa, Jay, and Jimmy Uso in a 6-man tag. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar 1-on-1, which is, I think, what we're all coming to see. That's the main event for me. I don't know about you, but that's the main event.
Well, I think Ray and Bad Bunny is going to main event the show, but...
Not official yet, but it looks like it'll be Ray and Bad Bunny versus Damian and Dominic. Or maybe Damian and Finn, because I didn't see Dominic on SmackDown this week, so I don't know. But it should be Damian and Dominic.
Sense.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic makes more sense.
Makes way more sense. Seth Freakin will wrestle Omos.
Why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Austin Theory defending the U.S. title against Bobby Lashley and Bronson Reed in a triple threat, and Rhea Ripley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Zelina Vega. So 5 matches are official. If we add the Bad Bunny match, we have 6. Usually these shows are 6 or 7. So we add the Ray and Bad Bunny match, and that's 6. Any ideas for a 7th? Possibly Bianca and Io?
Right.
We only have 1 women's match on this card. I could see Bianca and Io rounding it out.
Makes sense. Yeah, why not? Or you could add a women's tag title match. It's possible.
Yeah. Something like that. And that's Backlash coming up May 6th. By the way, here on the Ringside Report Network, May 6th will be a very busy night. We will be watching UFC 288. So for our Backlash post-show, it will be a Backlash post-show and UFC 288 watch-along at the same time. So we'll have Johnny North on the show. We'll have AJ. We'll have Freddie. I'll be on the show. We'll be watching the UFC. We'll be watching Backlash, and we'll be talking about all of it all at the same time. So it'll be very busy on the 6th of May. Hopefully Endeavor figures out that they shouldn't have their properties opposing each other on the same night here. WWE and UFC owned by the same company. They shouldn't be going head-to-head, but they are. These dates were made before they were the same company. I doubt that they'll keep doing this going forward. But for now, May the 6th is a UFC and WWE pay-per-view night, so it's going to be a big one here on the Ringside Report Network. We'll be doing double duty, but I kind of like it because I don't have to do 2 shows. You know, it makes it easier for me. I don't have to do a UFC show on a Saturday and a WWE show on a Sunday. I can watch everything all at once, do the show all at once, and like the great Ricky said, I can get 2 birds stoned at once. So that's what I want. Getting 2 birds stoned at once is the key. Johnny North, when is your next match? When can people see you?
So Loot Academy's coming up May 7th, the day after Backlash. It'll be at Club Soda, and people can buy tickets for that event at the Club Soda website.
There you go. So go to the Club Soda website, get to Lut Academy, Lutte Academy, Academie, and go watch Johnny North kick some major ass at the Jacques Rougeau production of Lutte Academy Wrestling May 7th. Go to the Club Soda website. If you're in the Montreal area, go check out Johnny North and some other great professional wrestling here in the Montreal area. And I will be back here on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with Freddie and AJ to talk about all the UFC, all the MMA, all the things. We gave our predictions and our parlays for the UFC card tomorrow night. That was on the Thursday night show. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time is when Ringside Report MMA happens. And every Friday night here is the wrestling show, Wrestling Uncensored, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, every Friday after Smackdown, right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.